What defines a genre of music? Is it the instruments? Is it the people who play it? Folk music is one of the oldest genres. But what defines folk music? And what is folk music?
What is folk music? Well,
that is the question. That is the question we've all been asking ourselves, is it not?
I don't know, I always think folk music, folk meaning people, from the German word, Volk, folk, people. So music played by the people. Who are the people? I don't know, the public. What I think is folk music is it's accessible music. It's easy to play. Sometimes it's easy to play, sometimes it's quite hard to play, but it's easy to get into playing it, which means that it's probably played by people who can't normally afford expensive instruments.
When we think of it, it's like going back in time. It's like being in a little time machine and going back and feeling the ideas and hearing the stories of our culture and other cultures coming back through time for us to experience and share in.
You know, the richer people would have been able to afford musicians, like a quartet to play at their dances and things. And then you would have had like orchestras playing concerts in concert halls. But the ordinary folk who couldn't afford all those instruments and who couldn't afford like a conductor who's been trained at music school, then they would be playing their own music in the pub or in their front room or what have you.
First one, he wrote this is about, this is a ghost story. It's a romantic ghost story. It's about being lost and never found.
There's a lot of them about.
There's a lot of them. Yeah, and the Pirate Hat is because he was trying to capture a sea shanty pirate theme at the time, so we just went with it.
Some of folk music is actually, it's like media, isn't it? It's the social media of the time, because if people know a song, it's a story that people are keeping in their heads, and they're carrying that news forward. Like, I was watching Valhalla, and they had, they come back from their battle, and like somebody comes in and says, and starts, the king, he's done this, and he comes back and he does this, and it's a rhyming sort of little, I guess like a poem about what the king's achieved and how many men he killed and blah, blah, blah. Like the Iliad as a story, it's just shouting great glories. I think a lot of old songs would have been like the news. So tales of, fairy tales even, stories about things that happen or might happen, like Long Lankin, beware of Long Lankin who lives out on the moors, beware the moors, don't go out on the moors by yourself, little moral tales. Taylor Swift called an album, what did she call it? Folklore. My wife's really into it, I'm really into it. I think it's absolutely superb music, and I think it does represent folk music. It is music of the people.
You could say that bands or music that is formed from a kind of background of do-it-yourself, as it were, like punk or grunge or garage bands, I'd say that's folk music, whereas stadium rock, where you need a truck to drive you around, where you need huge speakers where you need, a company to run the whole thing. That's not necessarily folk music in my view.
How long music lasts, I think, matters. So we can call something modern folk if it's, I guess, of the people. But isn't all music of the people? Isn't the test of folk a little bit like when we think of classical music? Classical music, anything played with a violin or cellos or instruments from that era, I guess we would call classical music. But the way I think of it is the music that lasts becomes the music that you can label. If music pops up for a blip in time, you tend not to label it. So we'll have to wait and see who the real modern folk music is, the modern storytellers, the music that people listen to now, that people are listening to in 100 years. That might be the music of the people. That might be folk music.